I think we're back. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hello, y'all.
Hello.
Hi there. And welcome. Welcome to Stone Bible Studies First Live. So here we are with, I've got Jevin with me who is helping me produce I call her my Appalachian occult queen with she's got the secrets of the Appalachian Mountains, many. I'd like to learn more. And today we're talking to Magdalena, the up and coming Greek wizard who just did the intensive Greek in record time. Impressive work, and I envy you. I envy your mental stamina. I must say, I got ADHD, so I could never like
Um,
focus like that.
I also have ADHD pretty bad. You'll probably see me be a little all over the place, but
Well, then
yeah,
that's even more impressive then because and yeah, but you know what? So when you were doing the intensive study, I noticed you were utilizing a lot of your some of your musical talents and using rhythms and things to help you memorize the Greek and this is why I got this idea for the music and the muse because I feel like there's some connection there between music and learning the Greek and learning language. And so this is what I wanted to ask you about how you feel like this helps connect you to the muse. That's my question. That's my first question for you.
the music and how it helps me connect to the muse, like within the language. You mean?
Uh, well, what yeah, answer however you want. But I mean, I feel like so music. I've always felt this that music is it's an inspirational thing. Like it takes inspiration, and then and there seems to be some kind of connection like because all of Ammon's fans, not all of Ammon's fans, but a lot are musicians for some reason, and so I feel like there's something there that connects you through through music and through the language. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to how what you thought about that.
Well, what I think I've learned, especially before doing the Greek course, was that the language itself is musical. And so I use that to my advantage because if you can access the power of memory through inspiration, and I can use that through learning the language itself, then I'm going to try at least. And so I just came up with creative ways um, to be able to use different disciplines and techniques to memorize easier, and combined it with visualization and I even made like different beats on my phone, just different rhythms. And if I had a really hard time with memorizing something, then I would combine like movement and breath. And you know, I really wanted it to um like toward the end, I was just reflecting a lot about how can I it was less about how can I make it through at a certain point, and then trying to see if I can hang on, and if this is working, if it's getting ingrained into my brain. And if I can do it, I have a million excuses, then everyone else has the capability to learn. And even within that short amount of time, of course, I could have just dwelt on one unit for like weeks before understanding it fully. So that was the challenge. The limitation of time, the level of stress, and the complexity of the language were all intimidating. But yeah, learning about the musicality of the language and its beauty and what they're even talking about, all of those things are um, I don't know, inspirational. They are expressions of the things that I'm interested in, right? I'm interested in language. I'm interested in, the history. I'm interested in um, the mythology and the magic. And yeah, so I tried to intentionally use that to my advantage, almost as a self experiment to see if I would be able to memorize better. And I think that made me feel more inspired to keep going, and gave an added sense of resilience um, just through the language and through the discipline of trying to learn it. So.
I thought that was quite brilliant the way you used rhythms to learn your declensions. And I seen you had posted something where you did a little rhythm of you're doing. I thought that was brilliant. Like, and so what gave you that idea to do that?
Well, just repeating it over and over.
Yeah,
I was in
that's the
my
best way
car
to learn
because
things. But
I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to just visually learn this. I have to use repetition or something, right? And um knowing that the declensions came first and all those noun endings, and then doing the verb endings, I'm like, okay, I have to somehow be able to categorize this in my brain. And so I was and being so busy with my kids and with my schedule, I'm like, how am I going to fit this into my life? How am I going to structure my life around the language? So then I would be in my car and I would be using different directions and arm movements to almost be like, this direction is this column or category of what I'm studying, right? So I don't know. That's how I was visualizing
yeah,
it in my brain. I saw something today actually that reminded me of it, because there was an old guy, two old guys talking, and it's this viral video that they were talking about their experience being prisoners of war, and like two 90-year-old men talking about how what they experienced and how they communicated while they were being imprisoned, and they couldn't use Morse code, so they had to develop a different system. And it basically they created some sort of grid that allowed them to be like, okay, this row of 5 letters, this row of 5 letters, this row of 5 letters, and then you have one extra letter for 26 letters of the English alphabet. So they figured out some system to use almost as a different type of Morse code. And I thought that was interesting because I was doing that grid system in my brain in order to memorize like the categories and like the different endings for what and what, uh feminine, masculine, um or like, yeah, what type of verb ending is this, and because it's so complicated, I didn't think that it would actually work, because when and on the spot when Amin is testing me and I'm in the exam, you're like, okay, look at the verb, what's the verb ending? You start to just notice the patterns. I notice, oh yeah, it's got that sigma stem, and oh, that, yeah, I can follow that. So I don't know, I it was really cool to learn while I don't know, to teach myself while I'm learning, right? And try to use what I know to better equip myself. I don't know. That's kind of where I was going with that. But yeah, the musicality of the language is something that is mind blowing, because it's not just, oh, the music's like it just sounds musical. It goes
Are my
deeper
beers still there? The three that were
into
sitting
the
yeah.
whole plane of existence, right? So
there?
I would like to talk more about
I know.
that.
Isn't there a case of beer right there?
Yeah, it's 12. That's your 12 pack.
Yeah, yeah. No, just go ahead and go. Sorry, my son is asking me something.
Oh,
Sorry
no
about that.
worries. Um,
Yeah, he's asked me if I drank all his beer. I swear I didn't. I swear.
I would. No, I'm just kidding.
I would.
Um,
Yeah, no, I thought it was an amazing idea, and then and like I said, I've noticed many of the Greek fans or musicians. So just was thinking how that. So tell me more about your music. Actually, I'd like to know more about that as
Oh,
well.
okay. I didn't plan on saying anything about my music, I guess. So, um, my journey into music, I mean, I've always been a musical person, right? Like people who have a natural affinity toward art and music, sometimes they're more drawn toward math, and some people are not. And I was one of those that are not naturally gifted with that mathematical talent. And and so I was just a complete art music nerd, but I was really sheltered. So I wasn't allowed to listen to any non-Christian music. And I didn't until I was probably 15. And the first thing I listened to, I think, was like that wasn't on the radio, right? Was the Flaming Lips, and then
Yeah,
I got really into jazz, and I started hyper focusing on jazz. And I somehow like I moved schools in high school when I was a teenager. I moved schools like halfway through, or in my sophomore year, I moved to Ohio, and I started taking classical guitar lessons, and I ended up testing and into like an advanced placement jazz group, and playing jazz guitar and singing jazz, and doing that just for fun because that was like the only thing that was keeping me sane, because I had a lot of issues back when I was a teenager, and music just helped me. You know, it helps many people. It's
yeah,
therapeutic,
I
and
agree. Music is a really good outlet for me as well. Like that's if I'm having a down day, grabbing my guitar, playing some tunes, whatever. Yeah, it's uplifting, right? It's
yeah.
spiritual. I think it's spiritual.
Right. And so I was experiencing, because it was like my first time. A lot of people grow up with listening to like rock bands, and like a lot of my friends grew up listening to really cool music, and I never was exposed to any cool music. I mean, any different genres of music. I didn't listen to anything really. And so my mind was just having like epiphanies after epiphanies, right? While I'm just listening to all these different types of music because I allowed myself to for the first time. And that kind of that path led me back um into religion, into Christianity. I wanted to be like a worship leader and like do missions work, so I did that. And then yeah, because I taught myself to play the guitar, so I just, throw me into the worship team, whatever. And so yeah, after leaving that whole world, um, I had a lot of terrible situations happen, right, in my life. Just absolute, like the worst things that a human could possibly go through, I've been through. So I went through a phase of just partying really hard, sleeping on people's couches, and writing songs on people's guitars, using people's stuff to put out self-made albums, and I made my first band. And the first album that I recorded was for my my friend's my ex's um school project, and I just wrote all those songs on the spot. And yeah, all of the songs that I've made in my life have just been improv. They've been just spontaneous songs, and then I just never memorized them, and they would just be free floating into the atmosphere. I called myself just a strict, like oh what is it called? Oh, one hit wonders. That was what I was just making. That's
Oh,
all I was making, and I would
yeah,
record
but a
it
whole
once,
bunch of them.
completely imperfect, right? The moment is encapsulated, and then I would move on to the next, and
Move
that's
on.
how I just made my art, and that was
And not
freeing for
and
me.
not really play the songs again. Is that what you mean? Just like
Yeah, I mean that for
just write the
myself
song.
made stuff. Yeah, but for a band, you have to learn your songs
Yeah,
and
obviously.
do the performance. So that was like exciting, and it was always really short lived for me. So I had a couple bands. I had a band called Ricochet, and we played a whole run of shows, and it broke up, and then I went through a whole new phase, and then got married, had kids. After I left my marriage, I started a new band while I was going through my last pregnancy until I was too pregnant to play anymore. And that band was called Earth is Crystallized Spirit, and it was really cool to just kind of finish what I had started with the Ricochets. It was it just felt really aligned, and then I realized, I can still create music. I can still find that same expression through music in other areas of my life. So I didn't feel like quitting music was unfulfilling because it's always there with me. And that's how I feel with just focusing on learning the Greek. I mean, the music is embedded in the language. The music is embedded into the essence of everything that exists, into every woman's life. And there's a whole world of technology that you can find just through sound. And yeah, I guess just even having the curiosity, that the childlike exploration to make something for yourself as an art, instead of I gotta make this to make money, or I gotta make this to so I can impress people, and doing it for yourself for the sake of creating something is like the most fulfilling thing you can do, I think. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
whether or
agree.
not
Yeah,
I'm
I
an
agree.
expert at, playing the
Mm,
guitar, the jazz guitar, like, oh man, I got shit on so hard because it's really technical, So I got to
yeah.
learn some of that math, some of that music theory, and yeah, it comes
Do
full
you
circle.
have any of your music available anywhere? Or
I have a couple demos out. Most of my stuff is offline. There's still
yeah,
a bunch of live performances on YouTube that I did with my band. But I have a couple. I could send you a link of a
yeah,
couple
sure. So
demos
I'd
that I
love to
did.
hear it. You had posted a song you, I think, wrote, and you were just playing the acoustic guitar and singing, and I thought it was really nice. I
Oh,
don't even remember where I seen it though. It must have been on Instagram or something. I'm not really sure.
probably, yeah.
I thought
Um,
it was really good though. But
oh, thanks.
yeah, yeah, no, but yeah, and it just, it's funny how everybody in this community seems to be a musician now. Everyone I
Yeah,
meet, which is really cool, and that's why I kind of had this idea for music and the muse, right?
yeah,
Um,
it's beautiful.
so like, so my other question was, the muse, what does that mean to you when I say the muse?
I think it's very multifaceted, because to me the muse is that thread of inspiration, the creative energy that exists in the cosmos, but it's also like um something that you can tap into, and it will respond, it reaches out. The muse I met through experimenting with the tura flower, and I understood the essence and spirit of the flower, the inspiration and drive that exists within that plant, is something that is not highly researched and really scary to play with. And I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know. I thought this was a plant that would just help me with my nightmares, but it really was something that r- brings and projects your biggest nightmare into physical form. And so that played out in my life, and I was able to make a lot of decisions that followed that was following my intuition. And
So
so
what's
how
that?
I,
The tura flower? Is that what you said? The
mhm.
tura flower? What's that?
Yeah, it's
I'm not
it
familiar
is.
with that.
So Almond has talked about it a couple times. It's one of the
Okay.
ingredients in, I believe in some theriac potion, right? It is a flower that contains atropine and scopolamine, which um, is this. I don't know. It's a poisonous flower that takes you straight to hell, and
Oh, jeez.
or just brings hell to you, really. And it's nothing like I've ever experienced before, and it's very subtle. So it's not like you're gonna have some sort of trip on it necessarily. You can take that much, but you might die, and it's really sketchy to try to do that. And it can be applied topically or orally. And I was taking tincture drops under my tongue for about 2 weeks until I noticed anything. I could tell just by the feeling that I had in my body that there was some subtle shift, right? But nothing like anything compared to taking mushrooms, right? So it wasn't until 2 weeks later after taking it that I was having this experience right before bed of these entities crawling out of my mirror that my children could also see. And then I realized, oh, these are just like projections from the inside of my mind of the subconscious shadows and fears and horrors from the stress that I was going through at the time. And that confrontation, even with myself, was really inspirational, even if it was horrific, because I realized, oh, I have to make necessary changes and take care of myself better. So yeah, there's a lot of different nightshades that people have used. I mean, it's like the
So
what
do
do you
you
put
you make
the
did you make the
flying, the
tinctures
liquid.
yourself or?
No, my yoga friend, in Crete, she sent it to me, and
Oh, okay.
I did not do any research beforehand, which I should have done. And I have not. I created my own because I've happened upon the flower a couple times, and I've created my own potions, and I'm connected with people that grow different strains and different, and it's probably one of the most beautiful flowers that I've ever seen. Where I live, there's two mansions that mirror each other, and in between it's this really busy street. And the one mansion is abandoned, and the other one is gated, and it has a huge park you can explore in it, and greenhouses and gardens, and it's really beautiful. And they have this really gorgeous, massive plant of I think it's angel's trumpet, not devil's trumpet. So I think like the ones facing upward are devils, and the downward are angels. I'll have to relook at that, but
You're
they're
correct.
beautiful orange. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful and
you're correct.
orange.
The ones that droop are the angel's trumpet.
Cool. Yeah. So they have at that location, I found this really beautiful, like peachy, pinkish colored, drooping angel's trumpets. And inside of the mansion, there are massive pictures of Datura and moonflowers. And on the other side, there's a pond. On the other side of it, there's just a ton of different moonflowers, but no Datura over there. But about a couple miles away, there's a garden, and they have a massive field full of datura, and it's really common and it's legal for some reason, but it is really poisonous, and I would not suggest anybody just use it for anything other than ritual purposes. Um, and
Yeah, I've that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look more into that. I've never heard of that. Hmm.
yeah.
See, you've taught me something. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering, what so you had a verse that you gave me,
Oh,
and I
Jevim, yeah.
And it was Numbers 31, 16 through 18, right?
Yep.
Well, I
Yeah,
only got.
I
Oh.
have the 1611 version of the King James, which reads a little bit different.
Mhm.
I found it very interesting because that artist I sent you yesterday named the Muse. She has a song named Numbers 31. She
Okay.
has it's 17 through 19, and it's very, very interesting to me.
Okay. Interesting.
So
So I was just wondering why that verse in particular stuck out to you.
because that artist has a song, and that song is very interesting, and it caused,
Oh, okay.
like with Almond's Mark,
Mhm.
what is it, 1451 through 52? Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I feel like this is probably very important too. Maybe not as important, but definitely something that I think more Christians should know about because it's a reality that hasn't
Yeah.
changed. Like, yeah, like Blitz was talking about, it really hasn't changed since ancient times.
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
when she told me that verse, I said it sounds like a prescription for imperial dominance to me is what it sounds like. And it's a
Mhm.
prescription they're still using today on the indigenous people all over the world. Like this is what they've always done. I was like, man, that's a heavy verse, honestly.
Yeah,
Just
that's why I was like, huh, like
it's a heavy
I was
verse.
thinking because yeah, so I translated it and the first part of it was really interesting because it was talking about turning away from the words or commandments or sayings of the God, the ruler of the immediate realm, right? And overlooking that caused this massive disaster in the synagogue. And then after that, it says, yeah, they're going to take away any woman that has not been in bed with a man, and kill everyone else. And that is a good look of the face of Yahoo, right? Of
Yeah,
Jehovah, and
yeah.
Mhm.
kind of his um that strain of
Yeah, like how
defiling
did
the
it ever
virgin. You
how
kidnap
did
the
it ever get
virgin.
called the good book, eh? How did it ever get called the good book? And no one, I
Yeah,
don't think ever you gotta read it.
manipulation. Right.
Yeah.
Um.
Well,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
about Moses and his people going to war with the Balaam, and where is it? I gotta go find it right here. The Mennonites or the Mennonites is who they
Yeah.
were going to war with.
Mm. Well, I thought. Well, that's okay. I haven't done my research to reread all of that section of the Bible, but yeah, that there's a lot of just. Um. I remember like growing
Yeah,
up hearing the story and
Yahweh's a big fan of genocide, it seems like in the Old Testament. Like and then
yeah.
and then honestly, can I even say this without getting banned? They've literally you got a guy from over in the Middle East literally quoting the Bible and doing the same thing. It's just crazy. To me,
Yeah.
it's just like, and this is what first got me questioning the Bible in the first place. Well, I've been questioning it for my whole life. Like, it sounds like honestly, Maddie, that you have a little bit similar background to me. Like you grew up going to church, etc.
Hmm.
And then you started questioning later on. Like it's somewhat similar, but and this is
What
yeah.
really got me sucked into it, though, of re-examining the Bible, was, I had no history or understanding of anything in regards to Greek mythology or looking into Greek, whatever. But when I started tapping into Western esotericism and magic and stuff like that, I was like, well, how about I reapproach the Bible with my new and cool uh, occult viewpoint. And then I realized that I don't really know anything because I'm just adding layers on top of what's already been mistranslated apparently. So when I came to the realization that I don't really know what it says until I look in the text it was written in, then I started exploring because my curiosity though came from I wanted to know how Jesus was like moving in and out of dimensions after he died. He came back from the dead, and then he's coming in and out of physical form and appearing in different manners that are strange and doing some weird stuff. And I'm like, if you're a Christian and you're supposed to be replicating Jesus and walking in his footsteps, then how can I access those miracles and those powers? And so my interest started there, and then it led me straight to Aphrodite. And yeah, I don't regret that one bit. I feel bad for people still caught up in being too afraid to look, because some of the people that I've asked if they'd be interested in looking in the Bible that I know personally straight up say they're not ready to see what it actually says. And that's up to them. I don't need to force that on anybody, but to have um the understanding from the mystery lens is completely liberating, and yeah, very enlightening. I wish that feeling for every person. And especially if you think that the Bible is holy and that the words themselves are created by some other power, right? Then if it's manipulated, everyone should know that. If it's mistranslated and if it's been tampered with even early on, then yeah, you got to understand that this English translation that you regard as holy has been flattened, it's been distorted, and it's been whitewashed to the fullest extent that it can possibly be. So I don't know. I'm learning more every day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm with you. Like it's like once you start, because I find that most people they really let the pastor interpret the Bible for them. They don't really
Yeah.
read it themselves and interpret it for themselves. And I think I did the same when I didn't think too much about it because I went to church just because I was told to go to church. I didn't really care
Mhm.
that much about it, to be honest. I think I did when I was very young, but as I got older, I didn't care that much. I was going because I was told to go, right? And
Yeah.
so I would just, listen to their interpretation and believe them until finally one day I sat down and read it myself. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here they didn't tell me about. Like
Yeah.
they didn't cover this in Sunday school. Like, the one I always point to is, do you know Judges 11? It's yeah. Anyway, I won't get too deep into that one, but it's like Judges 11 is like, what? He did what? You know that one, or do you know that one,
I'm
Magdalena?
Not
gonna
off the
look it
top of my
up right
head.
now.
Yeah, look it
Judges
up.
I'll look
11.
it up.
It's he he goes to battle and he promises Yahweh that if the Ammonites are delivered into his hands, he will sacrifice the first thing out his door when he returns home to Yahweh as a burnt offering. That's what he
Hmm.
promises. Guess who walks out the door when he gets home? It's his virgin daughter.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
and, and then the Bible says he did as he promised. Doesn't That's it. That's all. And it's just like, what? He did what? Yeah,
What
they
part
Yeah.
did
of
not
Judges
cover.
is it? Because it's right after Numbers, or not right after, but it's after Numbers.
Mm.
Yeah, like it's the really old parts of the
Ooh,
Bible
what
that are the
is
worst parts. Or I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's hard
I
to
mean,
know.
depends on what you think are worst. I mean, there is a lot of rape and
Uh,
pillaging in the Old Testament,
well,
and
no, yeah, yeah, but I mean, a virgin sacrifice doesn't get much worse than that, and it's right there in the Bible. I mean, and like, oh, well, yeah, they did not tell me about that in Sunday school. Like, and
yeah.
then if you ask a Christian apologist about it, they have all kinds of ways to try and justify it or try and say, "Oh no, no, that's not really what it means." She became like a nun or something, or like But it's like, what do you mean? It's like right, and that's
What
just
chapter is it?
Judges 11. It's
11.
like
Okay.
yeah, Judges. But anyway, and then but I don't think I think that for years this is why they like kept it in the Latin, so that people couldn't really read it for themselves. So then they would have to go to the church to have it interpreted for them and be told this is what it means. And if and then the churches like certainly use that to their advantage, to like
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To make money and
to make money.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you had to pay your tithes, like and like for sure. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, I think education is a good thing, like and like what you're doing, like learning, because that's what really got me interested in learning the Greek. Because like someone tells you this interpretation, and it's like, well, you just either have to believe them or you're just gonna have to learn the Greek yourself, because and I'm the kind of person, as my dad used to say, I was born in Missouri to see
Mm-hmm.
it to believe it. I have to see it for myself to believe it.
Yeah.
So I'm just because someone tells me this is what it means, I want to. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the reason I wanted to learn Greek, because I want to, like, okay, I don't want to just believe you. I want to see it for myself, right? So
Yeah. My curiosity came through wanting to see that unseen, you know. I really want to know the powers that exist within it, and yeah,
well,
what are
that's
those things?
That's what I used to think too, because I was like trying to drill down originally to get as close to what it looked like at the beginning as possible, like to and so they say that Mark is the earliest gospel, right? So they
I
say
believe so. Yeah.
that's what they say, and
Mm.
so like and then if you read Mark, because everything after Mark is kind of embellished a little bit, like the story gets bigger, as the Mark is kind of the shortest book, right? So they seem to sort of, and I do think as I study the Bible or learn about it, that there is esoteric information that requires ears to hear, as they say, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just everywhere. I think, what Amon's been talking about with the pharmacy and with, the mystery being embedded into what Jesus was doing, and that whole process, the priestess war that's invisible, with the lineages that came before him, right? And everything. It's all in the text. And when you see it, when you start noticing, oh, they're talking about pharmacy, they're talking about mystery, they're talking about having your eyes opened. And when you start noticing where those things are coming from, why he's promoting the domain of the queen, um, of Uranus and Gaia, right? Then it starts to make sense when you understand that when you're looking into all of the text and stuff. So that's also why Amen says to look at the apocryphal text, because there's a lot more that was purposefully shut away that allows the rest of the
Oh
Bible
yeah.
to make more sense.
Well, yeah, you know how I was saying I was trying to drill down to what early Christianity looked like. I
Mhm.
was very surprised when I started to do a little looking into it, how like diverse it actually was, and how different than what we see today it really was. Like it was, and it's mind-boggling actually. Like some of the things, like the question, the greater questions of Mary. That, or is it
Yeah.
the greater questions? I
Yeah.
forget what the title is,
I
but that
think it's
one.
the Greater Questions of Mary. Isn't that
Yeah, some
the
of these.
one from the Holy Blowjob? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one on the mountain.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Ice
for
croquets.
example, yeah, like it's like what they were doing, what in the early days of Christianity. Oh, again, this
Yeah.
is not something they told me in about it. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like I think I found like with Almond and his like idea of using a person to create an antidote, which
Hmm.
is what he talks about. There is science behind that, because this is how they do it today. They actually use like horses to create antidotes. What they'll do is they'll inject small bits of venom into a horse, and then they will harvest the what do you call them? But basically, they harvest the antidote from the horse, and then they can use this to, like, keep someone from dying from a snake bite. So that's why I was like, wow, like he's onto something here with the science. But I think a lot
Hmm.
of that comes from Galen. I think,
There's
you know,
there's a lot of texts from Galen that talk about the medicine and stuff. So
yeah, but I mean, that's where I was like, well, he's definitely onto something, because like they're using that technology today. So the Greeks knew how many thousands of years ago they knew, like so much knowledge has been lost, I think. Like,
yeah, I
uh,
mean it's been lost in practice, but it's still there in the text.
yeah,
So that's why it's so cool, because if you learn the language, then you can learn about these things that they're doing, even if they're really crazy. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, information is information, and if they were like curing diseases back then with things that, like, maybe some of this knowledge could be helpful today, some of our, because my dog is going crazy because sorry, hang on. Uh, I'm gonna just mute my mic. Did you guys want? Do you want to ask?
okay. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about music, um, uh, in the lens of the ancient world. We're talking about medicine and the Bible and stuff, but we were talking in the Discord, and I was thinking about how the muse and music are connected, how it's embedded in the language, and the power of the strings, all of these different facets of information that I've been consuming. And we were just talking they were just talking about the lyre, I believe, or the kithara. And they were the one that has the strings with the turtle shell. And they were talking about uh, Veldane was talking about the resonance, probably from the turtle shell, having something to do with it. And I had this thought that perhaps the turtle shell is the vortex of the womb of the cosmos, and thinking about all that stuff. I don't know. It's really crazy, but yeah, I
Actually,
don't know.
it's you know what, when you're talking about the turtle shell, that's what, isn't there some ancient mythology that says we're all riding on the back of a turtle or something like that?
Yeah, do
Right?
you know that, Jevin?
It's
So
Native
turtles
American,
all the way
Turtle
down.
Island.
Well, it's also Native American, yes, because they called
Yeah.
North America Turtle Island, right? Is what they
Yeah.
called it. But there's
Wow.
also I felt that there was something
Well,
ancient
it's
too that was
perfect symmetry as well.
It's what?
It's perfect symmetry.
Yeah.
And
I
they
remember
make
I used
music. They
to.
make rattlers and other types of music with it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
What's the name? What's the name of that instrument again? Sorry.
they were talking about in the Discord. It was either
Oh,
the
okay.
lyre or the kithara, the one that had the turtle shell that they were using. I know it had strings attached to it and it was hollowed out, right? Um,
Oh, okay. So
but
what all instruments you play? You play guitar
I
and
taught myself to play the guitar, but before that, I taught myself to play the piano, and the piano helped me learn the guitar. Yeah.
oh wow.
So it was really crazy when I was like 5 years old. Um, I was being babysat by my mom's friend. Well, my mom's a PhD theologian, and she does her own thing. And so I was being babysat while she did church stuff, and she let me play her piano. And I think she had some I don't know what kind of piano it was, but it was something small, and it just sat in her living room, and I was plunking on it, right? And then apparently I was playing Beethoven, and I didn't know. I
Oh
did
wow.
not know. I thought I created this whole masterpiece. I was just playing, 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 and it was perfect Beethoven. And she ran into the room like, "Do you know what you're playing right now?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea. No idea what I made this song up." And I just like somehow intuitively played that music. And it was really cool. But from then on, I was able to just play by ear. My mom put me into music lessons, and I tell you what, I never got past the first lesson book. I never got past the level one. I never passed level one. I think it took me like 2 years to pass level zero. And then I got to be on level one. And I just, I didn't have the desire to learn how to read music. And I was then under a lot of pressure. Maybe I didn't have a very good teacher, but I just wanted to intuitively create. And yeah, that was kind of my
I'm
journey
the
to music.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I hate music theory. I don't hate it, but I mean, and looking at the like mathematical side, etc. I like to just go by feel. That's the way I like to
Yeah.
do. Just like
And
connect to the
I,
muse. You know what I mean?
mhm,
That's how I like to roll. You know, and
yeah.
I think there's different ways of thinking about the muse, but it means inspiration, right? So whatever inspires you, right? And
I think so, but I feel like, especially the more that I'm reading the sources, that it's so much more than that. I mean, the muse and how she interacts with our lives and how like she's embedded, the muses are just embedded into the very reality, and how that is part of nature, and how nature is inherently musical. I mean, there's the rabbit holes go on and on. I did a lot of writing, and I'll read you some of the notes that I on what the ancient world viewed music, and comparison to the structure of the cosmos, and how it correlates with the worship of the muse. And you know music is like is education. You would be educated through music. It was like it was the education of the soul, and reflected the natural processes and structure and the order of the cosmos, of the universe. And was this is this through creating music, is this vessel um for bringing creation. And so it held music itself in the mind of the ancient Greek world, was an expression of this cosmic, feminine, creative sexual power. And I feel like that is also what Amen means by, that satanic Bacchic chorus. Because if you don't understand the very nature of the cosmos and that power that is inherently, within the womb, then you don't understand the expression that is released in the mania in that chorus. So it equally exists in language and is reflective um of like internal nature, like the internal mind, the psyche, right? But it's also reflective of the external world. So there's that connection. That's why, people say, "Oh, we're all connected with everything," but it's more than that, because they've already documented scientifically the what they think um is that structure, is that connection, and even down to what makes that stick. What is that stickiness and of the soul with the cosmic realm, or I don't know, but there is that this electricity that runs within the microcosm and the macro, right? Like, if anything, you can just start with thinking like, yeah, the music is God, right? It is embedded in nature itself. The stars sing, we sing, plants sing, wind sings, the ocean sings, everything is emitting sound, and the whole of existence is vomiting music, right? And so all that exists. And I mean, I kind of like, I was thinking about, man, what would it look like if the whole world, what was it like back when everything was less concrete and cities and way more quiet. you
You
I
could hear
guess,
the
like, you can
you
hear
could hear
the
the music of nature, right?
you can hear the music of nature. But somewhere I wrote down, Pythagoras said that he, in complete silence, could hear the frequencies, the resonance, the harmonies of the universe, of the cosmos, in being in silence. And I'll talk about that in a little while. But
If you
yeah, everything that exists in nature was being calculated mathematically. And so, that's why music is mathematical, because it is part of nature. So that scientific aspect, if you can translate science and all of that research back into music, that would be like,
yeah.
I don't know. There's whole worlds to be opened, right?
I
But
kind of I kind of think music is where science, poetry, and art kind of meet because it, like you say, it is scientific, like calculating the difference between frequencies and the different timings and things is very scientific. But then it's also very artistic, and then poetry with the lyrics, etc.
Mhm.
It's like where everything kind of comes together because
It is.
it,
And in their minds, and having this, I don't know, higher technology or some sort of understanding, they thought that even the sound of the strings reflected the resonance of the stars. Or it's more than just the science of sound, and that resonancy can be replicated and reflected through the strings. So, and translated through sound. So I don't know. It's like they were trying to figure out, so we can calculate the movement of the stars. What does that sound like?
wow.
So we can understand, oh, we're going to mathematically try to figure out what the fabric of the existence of the soul is. What does that sound like if we put it to music? And in some way, they were doing that. And that itself is metaphysical as heck, right? So,
Yeah, like I say, it's metaphysical, but it's scientific. It's like it's
yeah.
mathematical, right? It's like I didn't. So that's it's that path. Sorry,
Yeah.
theorem Pythagoras. Pythagoras. That's what you're talking about, right? He's the one that kind of. Because I was watching a video and talking about how they figured out how to divide the frequencies, like between whole steps, half steps, etc. You know, and it had something to do with Pythagoras, right? He was
Yeah.
kind of
Pythagoras is a really big on on understanding the and music and connection with the cosmos and with the soul. And I don't know. I have a lot more to read of Pythagoras, to be honest. But I was also reading about how they would use different tones and different modes to affect and alter one's emotions. So you can play something in a more positive or more depressive tone, right? And affect one's mind and feelings and mood through the strings themselves. And yeah, I wonder because it's like when we're talking about the mystery cult and all of that stuff. If you just replicate the right or replicate, this is the tradition that we have carried on. There are still like people carrying on traditions and playing the same songs, but without the complete reverence and worship of nature, and without the drugs, and without that culture of just understanding and being educated in that science of the soul and of the cosmos, then um I don't think that you'd have the same, experience that you would if you were there,
yeah,
So I think like
not
the
with all the
universe
elements. Yeah,
concept of the universe as a song sounds crazy, sounds foreign because we have not been exposed to that sound. And we forgot the musicality of nature. We forgot the worship of nature, and that's something that I hope the future returns to. And yeah,
yeah, I
we have
agree
to
with you on.
our
I agree with you on that. Like
yeah.
and this is what I feel like. The Abrahamic religions have done is demonized worshiping nature. That's what they've done. Everything, like if you and they like, anybody who was connected to nature and using natural cures, natural ways of doing things, they basically called them a witch, and they were literally burning these women at the stake. These healers, that were using nature, Mother Nature's way. And I agree, this is what we need to get back to. And I actually think that this is the lesson that uh, the Garden of Eden was meant to teach us. We figured out enough knowledge to start cutting down the cedars of Lebanon. We pretty much clear cut the cedars of Lebanon and destroyed the Garden of Eden. This is what I think it really means, right? But nobody sees it but me. But so and then so it was our knowledge that got us kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Our knowledge of metallurgy made and greed, right? Because
Mhm.
the powers that be, they cut down the trees to build temples to exonerate themselves and not nature and not God,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And here we are many thousands of years ago, and later, many thousand years later, and we're still doing the same thing. We're still cutting down the Amazon rainforest for the purpose of money, for the purpose of exalting ourselves instead of
Mhm.
exalting Mother Nature, which birthed us, which created us, which gives us life. That's the
The
message I think we all
Appalachians as
miss.
well. Yeah, the
Say again?
Appalachia is under attack. The Appalachia is under attack as well.
Mhm. It
Very
Yeah,
much
I
is.
so.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And it's like, I always say the only thing we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history, because we just keep doing the same dumb things over and over again which is scary, because back then, yeah, we destroyed those cedars of Lebanon, but at least there was plenty of the garden left, But now we're getting to the point where you know, we're getting so big to the point that we're destroying the whole thing, and there's going to be nothing left if we don't start getting back to nature. I totally
Yeah.
agree. This is,
I
if it was
mean,
up to me, that's what we would do. Let's go back to nature. Let's go back to
we're
worshiping.
I think we're so far away from nature worship, and we've lost so much. I mean, you think about indigenous people who talk about their communication with plants, and you think, well, that's cool. How would I ever be able to do that? We've lost the ability to be in silence. We've lost um the practice of our souls connecting to nature and reacting to the beauty through noticing patterns in the structures and everything between the sky and the earth. I mean, a lot of what is um nature worship is goddess worship, and
Yeah, well, Mother Earth was is female, right?
yeah.
Feminine, and we've like the Abrahamic religions, they kind of demonized the divine feminine
Mhm.
and made us turn away. And yeah, it's like it's interesting to me when you're talking about how the indigenous people, they're the ones that have the connection to earth. Well, they're the ones that are under attack by, if you look at, the imperialism, it's always the indigenous cultures that are under attack, and even under attack today. And it's like, I don't know what it means, but to me it's like, that's just kind of weird. It's like, why are they always the one under the attack? My daughter says it's because they're the easy target. Well, they're like peaceful, and they
Well,
they, they
we've
don't have
become this
weapons.
massive empire machine that wants to just wipe out and kill everybody.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, and I don't think that's what most of us want. I don't think that's
No, I
at
mean,
all.
most of us are intact with our humanity, I'd say.
Sure,
you
for
know,
sure. I think
um,
so. Yeah, I think most of us just want to spend time with the people we love and have enough to eat, have a nice place to live, and spend time with the people we love. That's what most of us want. But
yeah,
the people that are running the show, they want more, and they're never satisfied. And but it just seems
yeah,
weird to me that it's the indigenous people always under attack, right?
it
Like,
is. Yeah, and they're the ones who can see into the unseen. They're the ones who are preserving their own rites and rituals, and they're the ones connected to honoring the earth and the sun and the sky and the waters and their land. And I feel very deeply for those people, and um, I
yeah,
don't
they're
know.
the ones that are still connected to nature. I think they are closer,
Mhm.
right? And this is what we've lost, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it almost seems like by design. Oh, there she is. I was wondering where you
Yeah.
went. Hello, she's back. Thought you left us.
So there was this text that I was talking about how Orpheus is able to reach and connect the heavens and the earth, creating this stretch between realms, moving through the cosmos mechanically through the strings, um, through this formula that opens the gates, and he who has the key and can translate it, which produces this instinctual resonance with the muse in all human beings. And so yeah, recognizing it, being moved by it, connecting with it is this beautiful thing. And that's why I don't know, I'm so interested in nature and music, because really, I mean, we think about how I think a lot about the evolution of music, how things went from, you know jazz and all everything that was taken from other cultures, right? And the thing with jazz is that there was a lot that was being taken from African American cultures and other, you know I don't
Yeah,
know.
like
I
I
like if you're learning
remember.
music theory, then you're going straight back to the Greek stuff too. So I don't know. I was really intrigued by the swamp that is jazz. And it made so much sense because they knew how to like stretch a string, and it made you understand and feel in this other awakening of music, that was just hypnotic. That was, you think about like how people were acting in jazz clubs and like throwing these parties and connecting with each other, and the culture of the flappers to like the later jazz stages, even branching into rock and roll and like all of that's been created since. How is that the cosmos being expressed in our current time? I don't know. I think about all of that. But yeah,
Yeah,
what the muse gives through the music even now is that mania. That is like what the muses provided was was this mania, which,
Do you
yeah.
believe
so
that
so
drugs are necessary to get there?
To get where?
To get in touch with the muse, to be able to receive the inspiration, to write the lyrical poetry, to see the visions.
I think, well, for that, I think that that is innate in every human being that just has to be tapped into. That is the knowing of oneself. And I think drugs are helpful in getting there, but I don't think it's necessary all the time. I think the drugs are necessary if you're doing the mystery right, right? Like you are going through the mystery puts you into this purification through sound and through like drugs and through chanting and is restructuring your insides, the way that you see the world. That's what is reattuning your soul to the cosmic realm, to outside of who you are, your own identity, that ego shedding, if you would. But um, yeah, I think to be inspired, you have to just be authentic, and to be in tune with your inspiration, you have to just trust in the creative process, whether or not you think it's right or wrong, whether or not it's like, oh, is somebody going to see this? Like Helma F. Clint didn't care if anybody saw her art. So, but yeah, reattuning and restructuring the soul as a purification process and attunement to the frequency of the stars through the strings was what they were doing in the mystery, and that shedding off of mortality through the drugs. So yeah, the drugs are part of inspiring you, if you will. I mean, a little mushroom here and there can't hurt. A little weed won't hurt anybody, right?
yeah,
But
it doesn't
but
doesn't
I
hurt doesn't hurt for inspiration, but it's not necessarily necessary because I think you can get into that place, like you can be elevated in your mind without drugs for sure. You can. Like there was a guy called Sadhguru, I think he's called, and
oh,
he
sad
talks about
story,
how
yeah.
your yeah, you know who I'm talking about? And he talks about
Oh
how
yeah.
your body is a chemical factory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. Like your own brain can produce drugs. Like your own brain can produce DMT or and different things like this, right? So if you get into that state of mind, your body will produce the chemicals. It's like a I
Yeah.
guess
Fasting
you
and
call
sleep
it an
deprivation.
Oh, there's
Fast.
different ways, right? There's
Yeah.
breathing techniques, and I think music is one of them. I do think that
Oh,
music is one of
yeah.
them. It can elevate you to that place,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and without drugs, I think. And but hey,
Absolutely.
And
drugs,
so,
depending
oh
on the
man.
drugs, like stay away from the cocaine, but stay away from that stuff. But
Yeah.
the bad drugs, don't do that shit. The
Well,
produced stuff, the stuff made in the lab, no. But
I've seen some things between LSD and penis envy mushrooms. And so I had the flower of life, like the pattern superimposed over everything on both of those once, not at the same time. But I think LSD has a lot of potential, even though it is made in a lab. I think it has a lot of potential to show a lot of
yeah,
things.
true enough. But it's so LSD comes from ergot, is what they say. So
Right.
that comes from, yeah. There's what's that book, Road to Eleusis, and that's actually all about the Road to Eleusis by what's his name, Hoffman, and the
Ruck,
guy that Ruck, yeah, that's it, Ruck, Carl Ruck,
Carl
and
Ruck.
Hoffman,
Hmm.
and then it was Hoffman that actually kind of isolated the molecule from ergot, and he's kind of the guy that invented that, not like isolated LSD, let's say, not really invented, but So and actually, Alman knows Ruck, right? Because he's been on. I've seen him on. Ruck's been on Alman's show actually, a long time ago, but
really?
yeah, a long
Hmm.
time ago. Yeah,
Missed that
Ruck
one.
was. Yeah, a long time ago. I'm like probably like 3 years ago or something. But he
Wow.
had Ruck on talking about some of these things,
Yeah, if you
but
think about like if you sorry to interrupt. If you think about how you are a drug interacts with your chemistry and in your body and how music affects that, um, then you understand like, oh, the power of hypnosis and the power that comes from ecstatic dance and ecstatic song. Like, what does it feel like to be in a whole group of people where you're all doing the same thing and you don't care because you're blasted, your mind's gone on these drugs. Like, we've only been there with like slightly, and I've had lots of different various levels of experiences with drugs, but nothing in comparison to some ritual, ceremonial, magical experience that's just ripping me from my body. Like, we can use a substance to change our brains and how we see the world, but yeah, whatever the mystery was is on another level. So, if you don't mind, I have a part of my notes um that I wrote about how the pharmacon was involved. But before that, I kind of wanted to share a couple of this stuff to kind of, I don't know, to give you all the
yeah, go
tidbits
ahead.
of what I
Yeah,
wrote down.
yeah,
Okay.
sounds good. Yeah.
So yeah, that the using you mentioned like using breath. The voice carries that breath, right? And nature, what are the things that are vocal? Well, what is the power of the voice? And the musicality of the voice. It's in the stars, it's in the sea, it's in nature. But Pythagoras also wrote about how the highest sound is silence. And we talked about silence for a second. Like, what would it be like if everything was just quiet? We didn't have noise
Oh, you know
pollution.
what? When you have 4 kids, your favorite sound becomes silence, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like,
I feel
uh,
that, man.
yeah, but yeah, the fates and the daughters of necessity sing an accompaniment to the sirens. The silence brings you closer to nature itself. And another note I had was Porphyry talks about hearing and connecting through intellect and hearing. Yeah, he talks about Pythagoras hearing those sublime harmonies of the universe, and if the world were quieter, then I'd understand that harmony. But then I started thinking about, how did they view like the voice and the power of the breath? Because as somebody who's, I I haven't really shared this, but um yoga and meditation and doing visualization practices. I occupied a lot of my time and years to doing like certifications and teaching yoga, and I got really burned out on it and on the new age stuff, because everything was like, how are you going to manifest abundance, and like, how are you going to build your business? And I thought, if this stuff works, the technologies that I'm grabbing on, I'm plucking from, then I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, because I want it to be free for everyone. So I spent a whole summer teaching for free. But the aspect of the type of yoga that I was doing was talking and teaching the use of sound as a mechanism for self healing and creating self hypnosis. So, putting you into a dreamlike state, putting you into theta state, where you're that state right before you go to sleep and right after you wake up, where you are most potent to have otherworldly contact, or have doing ceremony at this heightened times, like the witching hour, right? The ambrosial hours. But I was doing lots of these practices. Um, and yeah, a lot of it was been centered around sound, and not necessarily doing like crystal sound bowl healings and stuff like that, but using chanting and sound of the voice in um different ways, and using breath and movement to create different altered states. So there's the term goetia, like that necromancy, the necromantic power. The magician has this vocalization, this authoritative power of the voice that is activating. They described it as it being lamenting, a wailing, and used sympathetically, but also to be as an instrument to create an altered reality, or produce some sort of effect through whatever incantation you're doing. And it's literally held together between, like, within stress and attraction. Literally, philia and nikos. So that's strife and attraction. And so using the voice, the power of the voice within magic and ancient magic, to manipulate your very reality, to create bindings and releases, and it is reflective in the magician's mind of the essence of what the cosmos is made of, and can attract entities. So that is like that drawing down of the moon, drawing down the dragon. Uh, yeah, that pulling the attraction of these energies into your sphere. And it's really cool because, you know, there's the Amin has been talking about the seven strings, and the strings of vowels. He recently just pulled that out of the universe, right? And there's these seven vowels that unlock the gates of hell. The seven strings, there's seven words, seven beasts, seven layers of the tower, seven planets, seven vowels. This cosmic scale from alpha to omega, the moon to Saturn. It's like this um it's an otherworldly tone. And so if in the mystery lens, it would be the voice is used in a way that's this structure. The structure that is like created um, through meter. So yeah, if you're doing this incantation and you have this rhythm of meter and you're creating this confinement, this space through which this construction of meter brings a deity or a daimon and can be bounced through that structure through simply words and the power of the voice. And I thought that was mind blowing. I like couldn't even contain myself when I read that. And the best part was that when I was reading this, they also said that the sound of the voice, the sound itself is a pharmacon. And I was like, yeah, what? Like, that's so great. Sound is a drug.
Yeah.
Like, sound is treated as a drug and a poison. So that was so crazy to me, because then if you use your voice, I mean, it's so simple. You speak in a lovingly way, you're healing. You speak in a hateful
Yeah, your
way,
tone. It's all
you're
about your
causing
tone.
poison in someone's life.
Yeah.
It's the tone. But then if you think about it in the sense of strings, then you can create distortion. You can create bending. You can create strife and tension. So when a string breaks,
Or
and
dissonance.
so I guess in the magical mind, if you lose the tone, then
Stress traction.
it would, if you were losing the tone while in the middle of a magical operation, then it could react back at you. It could fail your operation. So, but anyway, using melody, using sound and the voice as pharmacon was seen as like this as a substance, and it was treated
Hmm.
in that way, fixing and shattering, having the ability to cause chaos and heal it. And an example I wrote down was oh, well, it works as medicine, so like fixing chemical imbalances, stuff like that, right? But Pythagoras wrote about using sound as medicine and using it to purge oneself from dissonances. So Iamblichus said that Pythagoras would prepare his students by making them listen to different songs, or go listen to be exposed to different melodies to cleanse the mind from the day, to cure yourself from passions of the soul, from desires, from anger, from grief, from jealousy, whatever. And but then there was a story where this guy was playing the Phrygian flute, and it was discordant and it was causing chaos, and he was doing it to burn a house down. He was trying to burn a house down while through playing the flute. And then Pythagoras came over to him and switched the rhythm up and made it mathematical, slow and heavy. And then it healed his brain and gave him this neutralization, this balancing, like an antidote, as how they described it, to restore his sanity. Isn't that
Yeah, it's
awesome?
amazing. Yeah. You know, when you
It's
when you were talking
absolutely
earlier,
beautiful.
when you were talking earlier about, I think you said Pythagoras, about the sound of silence being the most beautiful thing.
Mhm.
Like that would also refer to like silencing your mind, right? Like, which is a tough thing to do, I think, for someone like me who has.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to silence your
Yeah.
mind, to like just have your, I don't know. Some people don't have an internal dialogue, they say, but I do, and mine never stops, right? So
Yoga is really good for that. Get into a yoga
yeah,
routine.
It is.
and so is
Yeah.
music though. So is music. So if I'm playing something that I just really feel it, I just really feel it, and I'm just it's flowing and I'm connecting to the muse, shall we say, and it like silences your mind, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So when you were saying that, that's what made me think of how it relates to music, you know.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Um, yeah, Gorgias wrote about sound healing in the way of using incantations as soul healers, healing the soul, like metaphysically touching the mind through sound. And I don't know, like the more that I'm reading, the more I see that it's this purification. It's like how Pythagoras used it to purify students, how they used it in the mystery to purify your soul and reattune to the stars, right? To that frequency. But I wrote this note that was talking about how Gorgias said that simply just through the power of speech, it can affect your disposition and change the effect of any substances that are in the body. And I thought that was cool
Yeah.
because that's, and also using the breath to connect to the muse. So, in the PGM, we've been talking a lot in the Discord classes and the workshops that Lady Babylon's doing, and he's been talking a lot about the Mithras liturgy, and there's a part in it that talks about how you draw down from the divine rays, or you draw your breath from the divine rays, and you're using breath and sound. There's in the PGM, there's tons of different sounds and poppings and different stuff. But using sound as pharmacon to make this divine mania, physically altering your breath to mimic cosmic order. So yeah, it says in there to do it, and you'll see the doors open, the doors of Uranus, of the heavens open. And yeah, so to the uninitiated person, it was terrifying, but to the initiated, it was healing. And so that really shows me that a lot of intention plus sound equals activation into the physical realm. And from a magical perspective, that's like very empowering. You hear like that quote of that people say, words are spells. And yeah, like how you speak affects your reality. How do you speak to yourself and to the people around you? Yeah. So yeah, the breath is important. Doing a lot of breath work and stuff for many years really challenged me. There's this practice I used to do every morning because in the yogic tradition they were like your navel chakra gets unaligned every single day. So every day you got to realign it. And so I would do these navel presses, and it's literally like doing like like a plank but on your back, right? You are looking at the tips of your toes, and you're using what they call the breath of fire. So you're pumping your stomach and you're breathing really aggressively in and out through your nose, and it creates this heat. And it will give you a natural high, but it also like will move any emotions in the body somehow. And you don't have to do anything crazy. It's just like laying on your back, putting your feet up, so it like really presses on your belly. So I don't know, it's like there's a lot of different techniques that you can do to change your change your brain just through the breath, just through the power of practices like that, and through consistently practicing. But yeah, words affecting um your reality is a huge thing in like the modern new agey world. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's way more than that. If the ancient Greeks were documenting and talking about it, I'm sure that the
So,
power
so
of
this is
healing would.
this is what worries me about sorry, this is what worries me about AI, is that now that AI is making music,
Oh
like
yeah,
really pretty good music,
it
but
can
it's like,
replicate
wow,
very well
now we're really getting disconnected from. That's what worries me about AI,
from nature.
because
Yeah,
yeah, now we're really disconnecting from nature, and now do we even need musicians anymore if AI can just? But then
yeah.
it's not the same. It's just not the same, right? Like you're not getting.
Um,
It's not spiritual at all if AI is just creating. It's just like you say, just replicating something someone else did, right?
yeah.
It's like a. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, AI is an amazing tool, but also,
I super hated AI for a long time, and it's just because I don't like the hyper perfect um aspect of AI. It's like with music, the imperfections in the moment are what make it so profound of an experience. It's not like you can make a bad song with AI. I mean, like, you can draw down any style from any musician and add it onto your song and then produce it. But to for me, all the music that I made means more because I've done it in the moment and I allowed it to be imperfect, and a part of the art and the raw expression of humanity is contained in that, and AI cuts every little bit
yeah,
of that out, right? You can see that very clearly in, like, overproduced stuff. Not to say that that's not catchy or fun or
yeah, no, it's
whatever,
cool, but
but
it's just not the same, like you say, because the imperfections are what make us human. Like we're not a robot, and this is why I always preferred a real drummer over like a
oh
digital
yeah,
drummer. I always hated digital drummers because it's not real. It doesn't have a feel to it. Yes, it's perfect. It's mathematically perfect, but it has
yeah,
no. It just has no feel. I don't know how to put
yeah.
it into words, but it just doesn't have that. So yeah, I agree with you on that for sure.
I read that the strings of Apollo, because there's some sorry, the the strings of Apollo are the physics and the mathematics. They're hyper mathematical and perfect, right? Um, but the Dionysian aspect, the Bacchic voice, balances the chaos, balances the math, right? And I thought that was really interesting. Um, I read that somewhere, I think. I don't know where. But hmm, yeah, I don't know. But I thought that was really interesting whenever I read that. But yeah, through breath, I was looking more into, like, breath, and it brought me to the flute, right? Using the flute. And I guess Pindar wrote that Athena invented this multi-headed tune instrument of, like, a flute, the polycephalus nomos, and it imitated this wailing sound of that was forced from the jaws of the Gorgon's sister. And in magical texts, they would use this, and I guess you can use that and vocalize to paralyze and petrify your enemy, right? And so bringing this chaotic sound, this discordian sound, and they called it the discord from the void. And yeah, I thought that was really interesting. It's like that Aztec death whistle or whatever. Reminds me of that. But it forces them into this chaotic realm. And yeah, the vowels of the voice are, I mean, in the language, it tunes the language, right? But the vowels are also in, like, um magical texts. They're used, and in reflection of the physical body of the god of the daimon, and it creates some sort of vortex. So I talked about the turtle shell. There's this vortex that is created through the resonance. The sound spirals inside the turtle's shell, and it is reflective of the womb and of the cosmos, the cosmic egg almost. But yeah, it's like, what is the importance of the darkness, of the discord, of the chaotic, right? Well, those frequencies naturally in nature are in opposition to that perfect high mathematical order that is from Apollo, right? And so that the machinery, the technology of the chorus is this system that creates this balancing, this equanimity, and I don't know, like this unfiltered creative force that exists and balances. And that, so in the Bacchae, there's this in Euripides' Bacchae, there's a part that talks about how it says the whole earth will dance when Dionysus leads his choral bands to the mountains. To the sound of the flute, the madness rises like breath of earth itself speaking. And then the mania is induced by the flute and was seen as a pharmacon. Flute pharmacon, if you will. And it would dissolve the individual. It would put you back in the seat in the lap of the cosmic mother, and was a poetic worship of the muses in itself. It's structural memory. And that is, in a way, well, now any modern music can be accessed. Not even, you don't even need drugs for that. You have an experience emotionally that's connected with music. You put your headphones in, and you can be brought into that beauty that is that unspoken memory. When you're a kid and you hear music, you remember in a way the things that don't even you don't even have the words to speak, right? At least for me, that's how I felt. You have a memory of what you were before you were in a body, you know?
Mm,
And
that's
music
beautiful.
can give you that memory. You
Yeah.
can
I,
access so much of the
yeah, I can
unseen.
relate to that. I can
Yeah.
totally relate to that. I was first chair flute on the way to Juilliard before my parents
Um,
divorced, and staying the flute that long, they kept putting other instruments in my hand because nobody else could be first flute after that. And there's one piece that my whole body just lit up and vibrated, and I felt like I had transcended. So I can totally relate to the flute pharmacon, absolutely.
that's beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool how you play the flute. I've never been able to play any sort of wind instrument. I've always been a strings lady or played the piano, and I've tried to play like trumpet or tried to, play around with other instruments and nothing. I've tried to learn the accordion once, and I don't know. I never really got into that. It's harder because I everyone, at least when I grew up, everyone was learning in like fifth grade or whatever, and I was homeschooled during that time, so I didn't get to learn the try to learn, pick your instrument and you know learn it. So I don't know, but
It's a lot of breath control.
yeah,
Massive. It's
breath
all about
control.
breath control right there. The fingering, the mechanics, and the muscle memory is pretty easy.
Hmm.
It's your breath control you have to control.
Yeah, I
So
love
we've
that.
got about 15 more minutes. Do you want to take some
Mhm.
questions from our viewers. I think that would be cool.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. If
Okay.
anybody's
If
got any.
you all would like, okay, we have two flautists in the chat. One
Ask me some
played
questions.
Two
in the sixth
flautists.
grade and stayed last year. Angie's a hoot. And then Tammy said, "I'm a flautist since I was a small child." So yeah, it's something else. I
That's
want to
what it
get
was.
some
See,
piano
I couldn't.
players.
I didn't have the lungs. I didn't have the lungs to play a wind instrument. You need wind to play a wind instrument, right?
Guys, we've got a few more minutes. If you have a question you want to ask Maddie while we have her, it is a blessing and honor to have her with us. So
Hold on.
this could be a once in a lifetime chance to talk to her directly. You never know what the muse will have in store for her.
Yeah, you never
So
know. Oh my gosh, my life is
yeah.
crazy
Yeah,
right now.
we never know. Yeah, we never know what tomorrow brings. But this has been an amazing conversation, though. You have so much information to share. A lot of things I didn't. I've learned some stuff here. So yeah, and if you have any links for your music, I'd love to hear some of your music. So if you want to shoot me
Oh,
some.
thanks. Yeah, I'll send you some links. Um, yeah, I'm really grateful that you had me on. I would like to finish maybe with a couple things to close, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, you know, since we don't have any uh questions right now in the chat, I
Okay.
wanted to finish with this reflection that everyone who wants to encounter the beauty and the wisdom and the knowledge can even just do so through understanding music and through understanding how the ancient world viewed music through the power of the womb. And that's kind of where everything gets summed back up. It's like this womb mother worship. Yeah. And I mean, even thinking about how the mind is this inner structure of the cosmos, and for God so loved the cosmos, right, that he gave his son, but that I don't know, this knowledge that can be harvested is not the right word, but that's the word that came out. Harvested from the womb is this creative energy that is embedded in all human beings. I've talked today about using the breath, using voice, the science of soul and cosmos and music. But I mean, all of that knowledge is already contained within every person. And I think that is the epitome of what it means to know yourself, right? That wisdom, that the creativity, the inspiration is activated when you know yourself and your place on this planet and who you were before you came on earth and stuff like that. And um yeah, I wanted to read this poetically. It's something that I wrote down, symbolic of the um.
Oops.
I wrote the earth held all those who were slaughtered by the God, the God's holy people, and she held her prophetic blood, which became medicine for all of those in the world who were deceived by God and God's people, and all of these great men who profited and no longer hear the beauty of that nymphatic siren song, the voice, and again within you, may you shine like Lucifer, that you won't hear the stone grinding again, and that you may understand the art and the technology and the skill that has been ignored, that may return, that you may hear the sound of the flutes and the musicians and the trumpets and the players of the string, that they may reattune themselves to the sound. And may you never be thrown down again in violence. May you find again the beauty of Babylon and pick up the pieces of what is left. So that is what I wrote as
Very
a
nice.
closing wish.
Yeah, I like it.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. It was great chatting
Yeah.
with you guys. Thanks for letting me speak. I really
Oh,
appreciate
no, it
it.
was great having you on. It was really enjoyable. I love chatting with intelligent and enlightened people. So any chance I get. So thank you very much for coming on with us.
Of course, thank you.
Bye bye.